Hey, how's it going, guys? It's Technical Tim here, and I want to thank everyone so much who's been liking all my videos and subscribing to the channel, and I really appreciate it if you gave this video a thumbs up, or subscribe if you haven't already. And yeah, so just to give you guys a little bit of info, I'm going to do a quick little preliminary video on UFC 242, kind of like how I do my final thoughts. I'm going to go through every fight. Some fights I haven't taped, so I'll just let you know if I haven't taped one yet, and I'll eventually get to it. But I'm going to go through each one and kind of just broadly go through the fights, and then maybe kind of spend a little more time on the ones that I have kind of more thoughts on, or that I might be playing or something like that. And the reason I'm doing this is because I'm going to Hawaii tomorrow. I just packed up and everything, and I leave 6:30 in the morning Central Time in America, and yeah, so I have to get up really fucking early to go to the airport, and I'm gonna be there till next Tuesday, so I'll kind of be in Hawaii during the Khabib card. But so you won't be seeing any like camera type of videos, but I might do something like an audio type of video while I'm in Hawaii if I can get away from the girlfriend and maybe when she's sleeping or something I can do something. But that's why I wanted to do a preliminary type of video, just in case I don't get to it, but I think I should be able to, so it should be all right. And then I know I've kind of been talking about this for a few, for like kind of like 2 months now. I've kind of been talking about how I've been wanting to do more videos, and I promise you I will be doing that soon. It's just I've kind of been thinking about how I want to structure this YouTube channel, and a lot of people have been tweeting at me on Twitter to kind of do more videos and things like that, and I'm just kind of deciding the structure that I want, and I think we'll make sure that like Gugabe and I always kind of have like a weekly podcast, and that I do some final thoughts type of videos where I kind of broadly myself go through every card, because people seem to really like those. But I think I want to do a little more, just not even betting related as well. We'll always have some betting related type of videos on here like every week, just like we do now. But I want to like pump more content out, and I've kind of been going back and forth. I have some ideas, but if you guys have any ideas, just comment below, and I'll think about it. So I'm kind of been using the last couple weeks to think about how I want this channel to go, because I just love talking MMA. It's just something I love to do. Not even just betting. I just love talking technique. And there's kind of just a low supply of it. I think I've talked about this on a video before. It's just there's the MMA media guys. They're not good with technique, and I don't like hearing about like Conor McGregor's whiskey business and shit like that. Not that I dislike the guy, it's just I don't care about that shit sometimes. And it's all the media really talks about, because I feel like some of them just aren't qualified to or don't have any technical or martial arts backgrounds to where they can really give insightful analysis, so they kind of talk about narrative type of things. And that's fine. It's just there's too much of it relative to the technique. So that's kind of what I want to focus on. Some videos that maybe non-betting related technique videos. I know I've talked about this, but that's kind of the direction I'm thinking about. So yeah, I'm kind of thinking out loud to you guys, because I want you guys to be a part of this conversation too. I know I don't have like a big following or anything right now, but I feel like the people who do follow me really seem to offer advice and kind of converse with me a lot. So I feel like, you know, the following that I do have, I really like you guys. I want to give you guys some good stuff. So I just wanted to say that. But enough of that rant. Just comment below if you have any comments on that. And let's talk about UFC 242. I'm going to quickly go through the card and kind of give my thoughts. I have a couple plays here. And yeah, I know not all props are out and things like that, so I can't comment on all that stuff, but I'll kind of focus more on money lines and things like that. So first fight of the night, we got Don Madge and Feroz ZM. I take this, and I'm not going to say too much about this. Maj just he has too much of a tendency to play guard for me to bet him as a minus 155 favorite. Feroz ZM, he doesn't seem too bad, but I just kind of like he can get some takedowns. I could see him getting some top time here. Maj is pretty dangerous and a decent striker, so I just don't know. Feroz he hasn't had enough competition against really good fighters for me. And no, neither has Maj really, honestly. Like, just starching T. Edwards quickly doesn't tell me much either. So who knows with that fight. Cummings and Omari I have not taped yet. Taleb and Salikhov, I have money currently on Taleb as an underdog. I jumped on him early because I thought that line was off. I haven't completely finished all my taping to know whether or not I'm going to arb out or play it. But I think I'm probably going to end up playing it. Taleb has a big reach advantage here, and I think he can score a lot with kicks, and I think he's also the better grappler, and I just tend to think he'll be okay. So Salikhov just tends to not really always have too much volume going on the feet, and I know he can land a big shot, but I just think Taleb's a little bit better everywhere, and I think he's probably going to win this fight. So I'm not going to go big on him either way. It's just a question of whether or not I arb. I wouldn't go big on him, and his line has changed to where it's currently minus 125. I wouldn't play that, but I think if he gets to like maybe even money or becomes a dog again, I think like a small play is worth it on Taleb. I really think he's just kind of like all around better. And having big reach like that, it's in the stats. Whenever you have the type of reach advantage that he has on Salikhov, that really does come into play, and then the numbers show it. So that's also just kind of, and that's an objective criteria, not like a subjective type of thing. That's just the numbers show. If you have big reach advantages, they tend to win at a majority of the rate. But kind of TBD exactly on how I'm going to play that. I'm going to take that a little bit on the plane tomorrow. Belal Muhammad and Takashi Sato. One piece of advice I can for sure give to you is do not play Belal Muhammad and do not put him in parlays. Do I think he's going to win? Probably. But this line's off, man. Currently his implied probability is in the like 77% range, minus 365, and I wouldn't put him there, man. Sato, people are really blowing out of proportion his performance versus Ben Saunders. Ben Saunders was landing a lot of leg kicks and knees and clinch strikes. It's something that Belal doesn't do much. Belal will throw leg kicks, and I feel like if Belal is smart, which he has a very high fight IQ, and he goes to the well with leg kicks on the feet and then mixes in his wrestling, he should be okay. But if he doesn't do that and he has a tendency to kind of just box at range, he's going to get hit with that straight left. And I know Jeff Neal isn't Sato, but I do think Sato's straight left is really good, and it's really fast, and I think it's good enough to land on Belal Muhammad. I just don't think Belal has the best striking defense in the pocket, especially to straight left hands. And southpaw, the southpaw orthodox matchup, I think it's going to open up that straight left a little bit. And as far as if Belal goes to leg kicks often, I think he could probably be okay on the feet, but still, he might get countered and Sato could land that big left hand. I really think Sato might actually be better standing, especially if Belal just doesn't make that adjustment of landing leg kicks. Like, Sato has the faster hands here, and he hits harder. And so, as far as the wrestling goes, this is what I taped. I know Belal's wrestling really well because I played him against Curtis Millender, and I have the utmost respect for Belal Muhammad's fight IQ. It's much better than most fighters. And he actually made an adjustment against Curtis Millender on tape, and it was clear Millender stop a double leg, and Belal has a pretty good double leg. And Melender's a guy, once you get him down and he's flat on his back, he can't get back up. Like, once his base is broken, he's on the mat. And so that's kind of why I played Belal. But Belal kept going for clinch takedowns early in round 1 against Sato. Or, not against Sato, sorry, against Melender. And he lost round 1 because of it. And then he made an adjustment in round 2 and 3 and went to an open space double leg. And he ended up winning the fight because of that. So it was a good adjustment, but he didn't see it on tape. So, obviously, because if he would have went to that early, he wouldn't have even been touched by Curtis Melender, because Melender can't stop that double leg. But him and his team didn't see that on tape, so it was a bad read by their team, but it was a good kind of adjustment and realization at the time for him to do that. So he has a good double leg, but... And I watched Sato against... let me pull up the fights. I'm blanking on his opponent's names in Pancrase. Sorry, let me pull it up. Yeah, sorry about that, but like Glyco Franca and then some other fighters in Pancrase, they can land the double, and Sato's takedown defense, it's serviceable. It's not great, but it's not bad. It's not as bad as some people are kind of claiming, and it's not bad enough to think Belal's just going to get it there easy. Belal can get it there for sure, but it's not at a super high clip. But it's probably like he'll land the double. But the thing is, what Sato does is he gives up his back and pops up immediately, like really quick. And he did it quick versus Franca. And if that fight against Franca was 3 rounds, Sato had it easy. And then he ended up getting finished in round 4. And the thing about Belal is if he doesn't land that first double, he kind of gives up. He really doesn't chain anything together either. So if like Sato just stops a couple takedowns, I could see Belal kind of abandoning the wrestling, because sometimes Belal doesn't really wrestle all that urgently, and sometimes he won't do it until he's losing, which that's just not enough for me. If he was like Damian Maia, where you know there's no fucking around, and Belal was gonna just wrestle from the gate, then I don't think Sato would be live here. But when you factor in the fact that Belal doesn't always shoot takedowns, and sometimes he'll kind of start doing it once he's already hurt, he's not worth a parlay piece at this point. The question is whether or not I play Sato, and I'm still deciding on that. Because Sato gives up his back, it's really important to look at whether or not Belal's quick at catching hooks to keep Sato down. And it's okay, like his hook game is decent. I got to watch it against Rencounter and some other fights. He can win with the grappling, but I could see Sato, even if Belal starts going to the grappling, I could see Sato popping back up and making this fight interesting. So he's tempting. He's tempting at those odds. I'll have to think about it. I haven't decided on this fight, but don't use Belal as a parlay piece. I know people like to put together kind of some 2-leg parlays with some big favorites to try to make a safe bet, but this one could be busted, and that doesn't mean I don't think Belal is the rightful favorite. I just think he's a little bit too heavy here. So I kind of wanted to give you my 2 cents on that. And I'm still trying to make a decision on whether or not I'm going to play Sato, because he's faster, man. Like, he's faster on the feet, especially with that straight left. And Belal's just so, he's just so hittable with that. I think this is just kind of, it's a little bit of an IQ test for Belal. And I know historically he has a good fight IQ, but I didn't like that he had to kind of figure out Melender in that fight. That fight should have been a lot easier for him. So, and Sato has better takedown defense and get-ups than Melender by a lot. So, and better boxing than Melender. Melender's a good striker, but he's not good in the pocket, and Sato's fast in the pocket. So, it's kind of my opinions on that. I'm going to kind of decide. Azatar and Timu, I haven't taped yet. Liana and, sorry, the next 3 fights I haven't taped, but then I taped the rest of the card. Moraes and Leon, I've started to tape, haven't developed an opinion. Murphy and Zubaira also haven't taped. Oh, I've taped a little bit, but not enough to kind of really sit down and come up with an opinion either. So sorry about that streak, that 3-fight streak of no tape. Next fight, Andrea Lee over Joanne Calderwood. I tipped this out. I think Lee is a fine play at around -205, which I tipped her out at. That implies she wins 66% of the time, and I cap her at 75%. And I know I've kind of seen people go both ways. I've seen a lot of people on Lee. I've also seen people think it's a little bit too close, but I don't see it that way. So I really think Lee's pretty much better everywhere, and the thing with Calderwood, and it showed against the Chokagian fight, is she's so reliant on a lot of leg strikes. She doesn't have the best hands, so she doesn't land a lot of head strikes all that often. Andrea Lee has good, she can slip punches. She has good punch defense with her head. She moves her head pretty well. So I just don't think Calderwood will land any like significant shots that kind of impress the judges standing. And so I think she can land some like leg and body kicks, Calderwood, because she does tend to do pretty well with that. But that's really the only place I see Calderwood scoring maybe like consistent or reliable offense. And the thing is, we saw Calderwood against Chokagian. It was an example of judges scoring head strikes over leg strikes, because Chokagian landed the better head strikes there. And Calderwood actually landed more, but a lot of them were leg strikes. And so they ended up going with Chokagian. And I think Lee's style works a lot better against Calderwood than Chokagian's would, than Chokagian's did. So I think just her kick game, it's not enough to really win rounds, in my opinion. Like, if she has a lot of success with it, she still will have close rounds. So even her at her best, it's going to be a close fight. If she fights super well, I still think she could still lose a decision here. And then with Lee, as far as those kicks go against Lee, Lee will catch kicks and counter with her own kicks, or counter with a straight right. And she parries off kicks pretty well, and she can avoid them, and she handles kicks well. So that's what I liked about her. And Lee's the much better boxer here, and she's got a good jab. And I think she'll kind of be able to box Calderwood up here pretty significantly. So on the feet, kind of at distance, I think Lee has an advantage, because she'll be the one landing head strikes. And I feel like she has an answer to Calderwood's main consistent offensive weapon, her kicks, where Calderwood doesn't have an answer to Lee's head strikes, and Lee can throw kicks better than Calderwood too. So there's that. And I've noticed Calderwood likes to take the center, and she actually likes to go forward. They both do. And whenever I see two forward-moving fighters, that screams to me that there's going to be a lot of clinching. And the last person to move forward on Lee and get aggressive was Veronica Macedo. And that's going to go right into Lee's game of clinch strikes and positional control on the clinch and clinch takedowns. And she's got a huge grappling advantage here positionally, and she's a lot bigger, and she's got a longer reach as well. And she's going to be able to land a lot and kind of dominate that clinch with her physicality and her striking technique. And Lee's all clinch takedowns. She likes to get a strong body lock, and she'll kind of shuck, take your back, throw you down, and she's good from that position. And I mean, Ariane Lipsky took Calderwood down from that position. So like, Lee's going to get a lot of top time here, and I don't like Calderwood's get-ups, and I think her guard subs aren't good. Like, I know she guard subs some like other lower level women MMA fighters, but Lee will use those as opportunities to pass, and she is much better on the mat positionally. And Calderwood likes to catch kicks and get takedowns herself at times, but I don't see her being able to hold Lee down. Lee's get-ups are really good, and there's a reason I played her heavy against Montana De La Rosa, because Montana De La Rosa was pretty much wrestle or bust there, and Lee is really hard to hold down. So the fact that Lee is better in every single area here, and I think it's going to almost look like a fight, kind of like the Demir fight against Thiago Moises, except maybe even a little more pronounced. I don't think the striking's as big of a mismatch here than in that fight, but the grappling definitely is. And I feel like Lee's better everywhere, and the way they both fight, Calderwood likes to kind of be aggressive and she'll walk you forward, and usually, like Macedo was doing against Lee, and you have two aggressive fighters who like to be kind of the ones leading, that means there'll probably be a lot of clenching here, and if there's a lot of clenching, Lee's going to be winning there, and if there's a lot of clenching, Lee's going to get takedowns as well, so I think she'll kind of just run away on the scorecard, so that's why I'm playing her. She's currently jumped up, like I tipped her actually, I think yesterday or 2 days ago, and she's like up to like minus 230 now. You can get her minus 214 on Pinnacle. I think that's a playable line. I'd really cap her at minus 300 here. I think she's just a lot better everywhere. And I think this fight's stylistically going to kind of play. Sorry about that. And then, so Diego Ferreira and Taisimov, I was leaning a little bit on Diego as a play, not straight up. But the more I taped, I think Taisimov should probably win. I wouldn't play him at these odds, though, but that's all I'm really going to say about that. Blaydes and Shamil, I want to tape a little bit on Shamil, but don't play Blaydes at minus 500. I just would not do that if I were you. But that's a dog or pass fight for sure. But I'm going to tape a little bit more to see if I like the prospects of Shamil winning. But the thing about Blaydes is one of my least favorite fighters. Like, I hate guys who can't advance on the floor and don't. That fight against Justin Willis was fucking pathetic by Blaydes. But the thing is, like, even though he's not good, he's good for heavyweight because heavyweight fighters are terrible. So sometimes we get tricked. We want to try to fade Blaydes because we look at his skill set and it's not all that good. But then we got to realize he's going against other guys in the heavyweight division. So, he, like, relatively speaking, his lines are usually justified. But this seems a little too wide because I do think Shamil's the better striker here. But I need to kind of need to tape his get-ups. That's kind of the main thing. But we'll decide. Ramos and Makhachev. I tipped Makhachev about a few weeks ago whenever he was minus 205, minus 210. And I cap him minus 400 here, around 80%. So I thought I got like a 13-14% edge on the bookies because the implied percentages of the line that I got him and tipped him out to the people who bought picks, that implied percentage is around 67%. So we got a really good line. And currently, Islam's anywhere from minus 325 to minus 370. I could see that line changing. So like I wouldn't play him here. Like I think the lines have kind of gotten to where they should be. A lot of people seem to be on Davi Ramos here, and he's kind of like the trendy grappling pick this week. And I know I can get some grappling fights wrong, but this tends to be my strength. These type of fights is where I'm definitely ahead of the curve on these type of fights, for sure. But, I mean, you can still get it wrong, though. But I just don't think people realize, A, how good Islam is as, like, a positional grappler. He's so fucking elite there. And, like, I would take Sarukian over Davi Ramos, by the way. As well as, Ramos is not the same grappler off his back. He's just not. And you can go look and you can see his fight with David Rickles. I know it was a long time ago and it was in Bellator, but it was the only time we've seen him off his back. And he does seem to be a guy who kind of slows down a little bit, especially when it seems like someone's pushing the pace positionally with wrestling against him. And I know it was a long time ago, but he was world class as a grappler even when he fought David Rickles. So I doubt his positional grappling game has gotten all that much better. He was almost maxed out as a grappler then, and David Rickles is 0.5% the positional type of grappler that Makhachev is. So like, even if Ramos did improve like a lot as a positional grappler from that fight, it still wouldn't matter. And if he didn't improve, which I think it's more likely than not that he's still semi-similar to what he was then as a positional grappler. He's pretty fucked here. This is where I think he could win. I think, obviously a KO could always happen. It's MMA. Shit can happen. A club and sub, or a standing type of back take. So what he likes to do is he takes a double leg, and he kind of turns it into a duck under. If you don't know what a duck under is, look it up. It's kind of when you shoot in, kind of at the lower part of the opponent's legs, and then there's a lot of ways to describe a duck under, but essentially it's kind of you shoot in and then you go around the opponent, and then you duck and come and take their back. And you see a lot of standing back takes of people who will do shots like that or duck unders like that. There's a wide variety of duck unders, but he almost turns the double leg into like a duck under type concept and takes your back. And I think he's going to have to do something like that, quickly get Islam's back and try to sub him there. I think that's his best submission chance. I don't think he's going to sub Islam, though. I think it's extremely low percentage he subs Islam. It's possible, but I mean, the dude was on Hubbard's back and couldn't sub Hubbard, and he has fought some bad fighters in the UFC. John Gunther, Austin Hubbard, Grutzmacher, like these guys just aren't grapplers. And who was the other one? Nick Hine. These guys aren't Islam. And so when people see subs like that, they overemphasize kind of those chances. I think Ramos will kind of have to hope get some type of standing back take, because he's going to get... He starts pulling guard too. You could see it in the Rickles fight. You could even see it in little moments of his UFC fights. But the thing is, no one's really tested him off his back in his UFC fights. And so I think a lot of people are not realizing how vulnerable he'll be off his back here from an energy exerting point perspective and a positional perspective. Like, Islam's got a heavy fucking top game. But yeah, I think that's kind of a reason why people are not realizing that he's not a live dog here, in my opinion. And he's going to have to get that standing back take, or club and sub, or a big shot. That's really where I think he's going to have to win. And also, he's a lot shorter here, so even on the feet, Ramos' striking's gotten better, and both of these guys actually don't throw all much volume. And the reason why Islam's volume numbers are so low is because when he grapples, he doesn't throw a lot of punches, so his striking numbers go down a little bit. But Islam controls range pretty well, and I think he's a southpaw, and I think that left kick will be open against Ramos. I think he'll be able to land that a lot, and he's a lot taller. He's 4 inches taller here, and I think that reach will kind of keep Makhachev safe, and I think actually Makhachev will get the better of the striking. And also, Makhachev likes to play with a lot of his takedowns. He likes to get overhooks and kind of push you up against the cage and start working trips from there. And I think that will, whenever you're a lot taller than someone, and it's 5'10 versus 5'6 in this matchup, that clinch type of game that he likes to play with those overhooks, it tends to give you a huge leverage advantage in that clinch, and Makhachev's already better in that position. Then he's going to have the height and the leverage advantage on Ramos, and Ramos has a pulling guard tendency. I've seen it outside of the UFC. I've seen it in his grappling fights, and I've also seen it just in I forget which fight in the UFC, but I think it was against Grutzmacher, where I could see him kind of resorting to that. And I think when someone starts getting overhooks on somebody like Ramos is going to start pulling guard and shit. And I think Makhachev's going to win a pretty clear decision here and kind of just outwork him and then eventually kind of gas him and win dominant late rounds. I could see it being semi-competitive early, but Makhachev's going to have some big rounds later, and he's going to have the crowd on his side. So yeah, I think I would maybe wait for that line, because people do not cap grappling well, and if people come in on Ramos and you can get Makhachev around minus 250, I think he's a safe parlay leg. I really do. Felder and Barboza, I tend to think this line's about right. I rewatched the first fight, and I've kind of watched their recent fights, and I tend to think they're pretty similar fighters to then, and the fight was a little more competitive than I remembered, but Barboza had a clean victory in that, and he kept landing that switch kick to the body. And I think if Felder doesn't have an answer to that, Barboza will probably win again. And Felder's going to have to pressure here, but I've just never seen him pressure hard. Like he doesn't seem like a real quick guy with the pressuring, or like a super relentless guy. Like I feel like his foot speed just isn't that fast. I don't know if he's capable of doing that. But at the same time, the first fight was competitive enough, and Felder, and if anyone's declined here from the first matchup, it's probably Barboza, because Barboza's been in a lot of wars, been beat down a lot, been KO'd stiff, where Felder, he's been in some a tough fight against Mike Perry, but he hasn't been like KO'd, and he hasn't been in like super bad wars where you would think he would be declining. He's actually probably improved. So I think this fight's kind of a pass, and I don't have a problem with Edson being an implied 6 out of 10 to win. I do think the plus money on the goes the distance early on was very offline, because I do think this fight's probably going to go to the cards. People have been hitting that line though. They kind of hit it before I could, but Bet365 has it plus 110, fight goes to decision, and you can probably arb that out at some point, so that's a little advice. And then Poirier Khabib, how much time do I want to spend on this fight? I don't have a play, just so you know. I understand where Poirier bettors are coming from. I do think I max bet Khabib versus Conor, and I do think Khabib's really good, but I do think he's also had a series of fighters in a row who are super susceptible to his wrestling and pressure type of game, who also kind of gas out a little bit. We saw it against Edson, Johnson, and Conor. So you had kind of 3 guys in high-profile fights where he dominated, and it's because they kind of stylistically play into his hands. So now I think his odds are maybe getting, maybe he's becoming a bigger favorite on the books than he should. And I do think Dustin's the toughest fight he's had stylistically. But the thing is, Khabib's gonna win those early rounds, man. Like with that wrestling, and Dustin, he's going to get taken down. Dustin is tough at kind of getting back up. He doesn't look like the super easiest guy to hold down, and he gives up his back, and he kind of keeps his elbows tight and with a strong base, and he'll stand up. And we've seen that work against Khabib before. So I do think the get-ups could potentially be there. Could see Khabib getting a back take, though, early, and maybe putting Poirier into some issues. And I really think just Khabib's going to dominate those first couple rounds. And the only 2 5-round fights Khabib has been in, he has he's taken round 3 off. So I see Khabib getting off to an early lead. So I think the spot here is to probably just to stay away and kind of look for live betting opportunities on Poirier if maybe Khabib's not dominating. Or kind of like winning the early rounds, but you can see that maybe he's getting a little tired, and Poirier's get-ups are getting easier. And also, if you wait for Poirier later, I think the odds will get better. There's a good chance Khabib dominates his first 2 rounds, and it's like minus 800 or something after round 2. And then the thing is, Khabib in the 2 5-round fights he's had, he's taken kind of round 3 off a little bit. So I could see Poirier maybe kind of getting like a free middle round. So I wouldn't hit like... So I'm just saying, like, Khabib may be down big, and then he might have like a round where Poirier could be down big early, and then there could be like a middle round where Khabib kind of gives away and things can kind of get a little interesting. But it will also, like, if you kind of live bet Poirier instead of pre-fight betting him, A, you get to see if he just can handle the wrestling, so that's good, and B, it mitigates the chance of losing the bet against an early sub, because I do think Khabib could potentially get a first round or second round sub because of Poirier's tendency to give up his back. So that's kind of my opinion. I don't know if any of that made sense, but I think just to kind of sum it up, I think the line, I'm fine with Khabib being like a pretty noticeable favorite, but I do think Dustin is a tougher matchup for him than most of the guys Khabib has fought lately. And I could see things getting interesting around like rounds 3 and 4. So I think like a live bet, because you get a better price on Poirier and not have the risk of him getting subbed early, is probably the better spot. But also, people who seem to be super high on Poirier, the thing I don't like about betting Poirier here, especially pre-fight, is Khabib's gonna win some of those early rounds. Like, he's just going to. And this event is made for him. So, like, we just saw the China judges recently. So Khabib could get some 10-8s, and even if he even if he wins the first couple early rounds and and Dustin starts doing better, it's not a guarantee that judges will give Dustin those rounds. Like, the crowd is going to be going nuts for Khabib. So I really think Dustin has to put Khabib away. I don't think he can win a decision here. I think it'll be tough. Like, it's possible, stranger shit has happened, but the fact that 10-8 rounds are probably in play here because of the crowd and because of kind of like home judging bias. It's not his home, but it's kind of like, it's his field. It's just going to make it, I could just see Poirier getting off to like a huge, like trailing big early. So he's probably going to need a finish here. And even if he starts winning later, like, he kind of has to win big rounds to really be for sure that he's going to get those on the cards. So that's the thing. He's going to need a finish. And Khabib seems super fucking tough. Like, I don't think Khabib's going to be all that easy just to put away. I do think Dustin could do it. But, man, like, I don't know. A plus 355 on Poirier against somebody who he has to finish and who has the wrestling advantage. And Khabib's cardio, like, isn't bad or anything. I think people kind of, like, against Al, it was super impressive. So I don't know. Like, I think just putting away Khabib will be tough. Like, his implied odds for Poirier are what, like, to win like 28% of the time, around that, and his main path is probably for a finish. So I just think live betting's a spot. I don't like Poirier pre-fight either, although I understand the argument because Khabib really hasn't fought someone like him. I'm going back and forth here, but I'm staying away and I'm just going to look for a live betting opportunity. Sorry, I feel like this video is a little sloppy because I'm still kind of gathering my thoughts on all the fights because it's kind of a preliminary video. But overall, like, the plays now, I got on Lee earlier on minus 210. I got on Makhachev like a week or two ago around minus 210. I'm on Taleb as well. And I'm kind of thinking some other bets. And I need to kind of decide on whether I think Sato is worth it as a big dog, because I don't think Bilal should be that big of a favorite. But that's kind of my opinions right now. Thank you so much for listening, and I'll try to send some type of audio video throughout the week so you guys get more content. And comment below, like I had mentioned before, if you have any suggestions on kind of like the direction you want this channel to go. I'll definitely keep that in mind. For sure. And sorry, I'm also sleep deprivated as fuck right now. So sorry if I've been a little off this video. But that's all I got. Comment below. Thanks, guys.